Hello and welcome to the Old and in the Way comedy podcast with Bob and Mark, where we fight ageism one bad joke at a time. Reluctantly, we had to learn the hard way that denial and repression oftentimes are not enough to hold back the tides of reality before we get our tickets punched. So our mission is clear and compelling. We'll pull the veil back on aging and reveal much of what's real and absurd with growing old. We're generationally conflicted, politically incorrect, and simply we are old and in the way. And today we're thrilled to have with us, our guest is Evan Palmerston from the powerhouse rhythm and blues rock and roll band Lydia Pence and Cold Blood. Evan, how the heck are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good.
Roberto?
Sure. Morning, Evan.
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
Can you take us back to the beginning of your musical journey, your Sausalito Heliport and Shadowfax days?
Well, yeah, you do it even before that, but yeah, that was
Start wherever you want.
okay. Well, my music thing really got started when I got the job at the Matrix. You know, cleaning the floors and watching all these guys come in and playing it. They lost their liquor license, so I got to stay up. You know, summer vacation. We got to stay up to 2 a.m. Holy moly! We did the little splash plates for the light show, swept the place up. And there wasn't a laundromat in Marina District that had a face plate on their clocks. They made great splash plates. I don't know if you know what splash plates are. It was a light show trick. You take 2 glass plates, you put oil and water in there, and it makes all kinds of nice squid sort of shapes. Anyway, so that got me going. Saw people like Electric Flag, Quicksilver, all kinds of people. Ironically, Cold Blood played there when I was in a later stage of it. And fast forward down to, I guess the Shadowfax days I just left the band that I grew up with, basically. Excuse me. I've been mowing around here. The dust is like crazy. I left these guys that I grew up playing with, and did the soul band with, and we was floundering around for about 6 months, I guess. And these guys called me up. They wanted me to come audition for a bunch of guys who were putting a band together from Mill Valley. So I got the gig. It was cool. It was original tunes. Real good songwriter, Peter Lange, R.I.P. Long time gone, and turned into a pretty good band. It was we got hooked up with BGP basically because our manager was a great carpenter. And he fixed Jerry Pompilo's house. You know, the little bartering going on there. But
and for people who are unfamiliar with the San Francisco music scene, Evan and Shadowfax played at Winterland, which was the premier group for every great band that ever came through San Francisco. And just to be able to play on that stage, go ahead, Evan.
Yeah, well, it was the best. It was the best sounding room of that size around. I mean, once they started going to the Oakland Coliseum, it sounded like hell. But
Winterland was an old high school gymnasium.
Yeah, and but it was the ice capades, you know. But the acoustics in there were exceptional for a building that large. An acoustic group would sound really good, and then a heavy metal band like Led Zeppelin could sound great in there too. And ironically enough, I wound up rehearsing there with another band years later when they were about ready to tear it down. We got to rehearse up in the back room there. Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, it was too bad. Carousel Ballroom was the best sounding room in the city. That was the best one. So anyway, as I was in Shadowfax, was that sort of level band. You work more and make less. So I still had to go out and find myself some gainful employment. And on the advice of a friend of mine's, one of my bandmates' girlfriends, who was a waitress at the Trident, said, "Go down there, they need dishwashers." So I did, got hired, and began my 8-year career there at the Trident, doing just about everything there except manage. And I didn't want to do that. No way. There was I'm more the kind of behind the grunt type guys, you know.
Well, when I got there, you had the illustrious position of busboy.
Yep. I was king busboy for quite a while. Whatever that is.
Well, you're hanging out with soon-to-be major celebrities.
Yeah, well, we didn't hang out. He actually lived up the hill from me on Morning Sun in Tam Junction. And he gave me a ride a couple of times. No, there's a picture floating around of
And
Robin
for
Reed.
the audience, this is Robin Williams.
Yeah, this I trained as a busboy. Didn't work with him a whole lot, um, mostly because he didn't. Well, no, he was cool. He kept everybody entertained. I'll say that. And then it was basically a stepping stone for a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Because of their attitude towards the arts, promoting it. So I mean, how could you not with all these these huge media types coming in all the time? Busting tables, and there's Anne Bancroft. I'm going, holy moly! I always wanted to see her up close.
And there was a connection with Bill Graham Presents because he had his own table when
Yeah,
he came in,
oh, yeah.
and he gave away free tickets. I got multiple free tickets to the Rolling Stones just working.
Yeah, I didn't get that one, but we went over and we saw the band when they were over there. Bob Dylan did the band, and
Thanksgiving.
That was the Last Waltz. But
Okay.
before that, that was just Bob Dylan opening for the band.
Wow.
I always thought that was cool.
Yeah.
That was the Oakland Coliseum, and it sounded like hell. Really, they were great, but just so cavernous.
Yeah. You touched on the Matrix, and for those interested in San Francisco music history, that was a sort of important place. I believe Marty Ballin had talked a couple of lawyers into basically opening a club for a place for the Jefferson Airplane to play. But
Right.
it was you must have seen a lot of the early San Francisco sound there.
Oh yeah, you bet. Quicksilver John Cipollina with his two trumpet horns. They were like bugle horns, but they were really long. He set them on top of the amp, and in that tiny place, he cranked it. It was like, oh my god!
Wow.
He hit those high notes, and it was Albert Collins did that once too. He used to take what was called an acoustic 260 guitar amp, which had a bullhorn in the top of the treble, and he turned it upside down so the bullhorn was on the floor. And I was sitting there one day, he was doing sound check, and he hit with that Telecaster. He just hit this one note, and it was like an arrow going through my head. And he's sitting there looking at me, going, he knew exactly what to do.
That you. Yeah.
Now we saw the flag, electric flag used to play there a lot. God, everybody who came to town, all the guys like, there was a group called Mendelbaum who came from Madison, Wisconsin, which wound up being in the very end was Keith Knudsen, was drummer for the Doobies, and then Chris Mickey was played with the Pointer Sisters and worked with. He was a guitar player, played with a whole bunch of people there, and we watched these guys come through Keith Knudsen was living on top of the walk-in refrigerator of the Matrix for a while because they didn't have any place to put it.
Wow.
Then 15 years later, he's building a mansion out in Nicasio.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was an amazing place to just you just happened to be nearby and fell into it.
Well, I went to junior high school right down the street from there at Marina Junior High, and would walk when I was walking home. I'd walk by the place every day, and always listen to the doors. They're doing their sound checks, watch guys move stuff in and out, and I was already interested at that point. And a friend of mine had the job there, cleaning the place up. He said, "I got to go on summer vacation. You want a job?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of my musical criminal career.
Wow. Wow.
Evan, you toured and recorded with Merle Saunders.
Yeah.
He's huge. And I think you shared in your bio, you learned quite a bit about show business. And the funniest thing you said in your bio was, including keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah. That's a very valuable lesson to learn early on when you're playing with high caliber players like that. And he's funny. And it was basically because his son Tony had got a gig with Dave Lehman and Pee Wee Ellis. Pee Wee Ellis was James Brown's sax player. And Dave Lehman was a real jazz guy. They were going off and doing that thing, so he needed somebody. And he heard me rehearsing out there somewhere in Marin, I think. Tony called me up and says, "Hey, call my dad." So I did, and went over there and got me the gig.
Nice.
It was,
Nice.
Randy Crawford was the high point of that, and I don't know if you know who she is. She's a very low, underrated singer. Came out with a Crusaders called this tune called "Street Life," and that was her big hit. But that was after I was with her. She was everybody as good as Whitney Houston, any of those people, but she just didn't catch. You know, it was kind of weird like that. But it's good, a lot of good gigs.
Well, the theme for Bob's rock opera that he created with Marty Balance was it was about a trial where the rock and roller was guilty for the sin of never having a hit.
No, that's kind of it's an oxymoron right there, because you know that most rock and rollers, they don't really care if they have a hit. They want to just play their stuff, you know. But let's turn it around. Now, who was in that besides Marty? Who's the band?
Marty was never agreed to be in it, unfortunately, but it was the rhythm section of Y&T, Yesterday and Today. Mike Varney, who went on to be a heavy metal record label guy.
Right.
Don Rubin, Bill Spooner from the Tubes.
Yeah.
Martine Fierro, who you might.
Oh, Martine. Stata.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And among the backup singers were Janet Planet.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Martine and I played together in Merle's band. That was his. And then he went on. We did some recordings with like Buzzy Keaton and a couple other people. Martine was a character.
Yeah, great player.
Oh yeah, right.
Evan, how did you connect with Elvin Bishop and the Elvin Bishop group? Because you were with them for like 10 years.
Yeah. Well, actually 10 years plus. I was just looking at one of the records. The last record I did with them was 2004. So I got in '92. A keyboard friend of mine was playing keyboards with him, and I ran into him at George's, and he says at New George's, whatever you want, old George's, New George's. He says, are you interested in doing the Elvin gig? And I said, well, yeah, sure. You know, come on, audition. So I went on audition and said the gig's yours if you want it. So I said, yeah. And I was a contract worker over at the DOE at the time. And I asked him, I said, okay, you guys are going to make me permanent, or if you don't, I have to go out. I have to follow my other profession, you know. And so I did, and still kept my job at school. And the first thing I did with him was, got a Little Drummer Boy. The first recording I did with him, did the version of Little Drummer Boy for the Alligators Christmas record, and that was interesting. And it was in the studio that did Grandma got run over by a reindeer. So I saw the gold record up on the wall. I thought that was kind of funny. What a tune. And so toured with him for 10 years, you know. And I subbed for another couple of years while I was getting with Cold Blood, and there was a couple of times I actually did both bands in the same gig.
How that's interesting. What was that like on the same night?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's first actually Elvin opened up for Cold Blood. It's bizarre. And so I just changed my hat, put a different hat on. The guys are like, but would you?
Yeah, weren't you in there? Yeah.
And then how did you find your way to Lydia Pence and Cold Blood?
Same way, the drummer that I've been working with, who was playing with him, Donnie Baldwin, we'd done some bunch of other stuff together, and they called me up and said, look, they've done these tracks, but they need a new bass part on it. So I said, okay, give me the, if you want my take on it, give me the stuff without bass on it. Give me the tracks you have without bass on it, and I'll come up with something. And I did, and they liked it, and so they put it on the record, and then they asked me to join. So I said,
wow.
Yeah.
Successful networking before it became a thing.
Well, it's word of mouth, and that's usually the best way to get actual, good jobs. In that, mostly everything, and most of those gigs I used to go in there and had no rehearsal at all, no nothing. I have to play this big gig,
Wow.
So it's good though. It's good to do that because they throw you in the fire, and you either sink or swim, or you burn or don't. you know,
Well,
and
you seem to have mastered rock and roll, rhythm and blues, but you also did jazz.
yeah, not a whole lot, not as much as I would like to, but there's a lot of great jazz players around, and there's not a whole lot of gigs, especially that pay. Um, and so I pretty much stay. My R&B is more in my wheelhouse than anything. That's what I get called for, you know. So it's what I take advantage of.
What are your favorite songs to play live?
What of Cold Blood stuff?
Yeah,
Any stuff.
yeah. Anywhere in your career, some highlights.
The highlights. Well, let's see. The highlight was playing, doing that record with Elvin. It was there was a couple of tunes that were really good, but the one live album we did with his mentor, Smokey Smothers. It's called "That's My Partner," but live at Biscuits and Blues with Smokey Smothers, and that won the best outstanding R&B album for 2000 for the California Music Awards. That was basically the Bammies that you know, it was kind of fun though. And I got this little award thing with my name on it. So I said, okay.
Wow, that's pretty. The Bammies are huge.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it was what the reiteration of the Bammies was what the Bammies had evolved into. It was funny because my wife at the time, she came with me, and so did Elvin's wife, and they had us at a big table. You know, when you're doing through the ceremonies and all that.
Sure.
And Green Day was winning like every other award. So when we had to get up and play at one point, and Green Day started getting more awards, and the TV cameras would be right on them, but they'd get up and leave, and there was my wife and Elvin's wife sitting there going, put the spotlights on them, and they really didn't know what to do. I felt bad for him, but you know, that's, I guess he asked to come. He wanted to come.
Yeah.
Who are your musical influences? Who are your favorite groups?
Oh God, there's so many of them. I basically started off with the Beatles, of course, when I heard that in the 6th grade, I think it was. And I'd already started playing a little bit, and then that just got me going. There's a whole backstory behind that too. Let's see. When did I go see a bunch of? Well, of course, what really got me going was when I heard Motown. I didn't know what it was, but I'd heard a lot of it. The kids on the radio, you know, and they said, "What's that, man?" I could always hear the bass in there. James Jamerson doing his thing, and always hooked my ear. And I guess I went to the KFRC had a fantasy fair in 1967 up in the Mount Tam Amphitheater.
Yeah.
And that was
the
right
first
after.
Major rock festival.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
It was
before Monterey and before Woodstock.
Yeah, oh yeah, and you got very, very little media attention.
Yeah.
But I see my first day I went up there. We hiked up from Mill Valley. My dad was a big hiker, and we were on that mountain, rain, sleet, snow every weekend, whether we wanted to or not. Oh, let's go. It's rain pouring. Isn't this great? No, but his first band I saw actually was the Suns. And they were playing on a flatbed truck, not even in the main stage. They were in the back of the amphitheater on a flatbed truck, and they were just killing it. And I thought, wow, you know, this is what I want to do, you know. And but the best show out of that whole thing was 3:00. It was 3:00 on Saturday afternoon. A night, but she was 8 months pregnant with a drummer and a piano player and her as Dionne Warwick, and she just tore it up.
Oh wow!
And here I'm a kid, you know, just looking for rock and roll. And she was just amazing. I'll never forget that. Yeah, that was a high point. And then of course Jim Morrison doing his thing, you know, falling off the side of the stage and all that.
At the Fantasy Fair
Festival.
Yeah.
Ah.
Wow. So besides, I assume Jamerson, who are your favorite bass players?
Well, Jamerson and then John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin was another one that got me going. I saw them when on their second tour after that first record came out at Winterland, and they just blew me away. It was like, oh man, I've been playing. I thought I was hot stuff, you know. At that time, I said, holy moly, I better get busy here. So I proceeded to learn everything that he played, note for note.
Wow.
And it's interesting though, because when I was teaching, I taught for quite a while at a local music store, and I was teaching them how to play by ear, how to pick stuff up. And I had the vinyl of Led Zeppelin 2, and one particular passage that I always work, had students do. And he goes, "Well, how do you do that?" And I go, "Okay, this is how." And I picked up the needle, and without even thinking about it, I put it down right where it was supposed to go. I mean, I had done it so many times, back and forth, that it just was automatic. It's like automatic cueing.
Wow.
Nice.
Pretty much after that, there's some great players out there. Just really, I've been talking to Lee Sklar on his clubhouse thing. He's got a clubhouse going on.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. I sent him one of my T-shirts that I make, and he's got that. Have you seen his book? He's got a great book up called "Everybody Loves Me."
Yeah, no, that's pretty new.
Huh?
I think that's newish.
Yeah, it's fairly new. Yeah, and I guess he came out last year or something. He was putting it together for a long time, but it's everybody's ever worked with flipping him off.
That's pretty much everybody who, I mean, he played with so many people.
Oh man.
I was curious, do you have any pre-show rituals that get you in the right mind?
Nope.
Or you just show up and play?
That's it, pretty much. And as minimal a sound check as possible, because it's always different. Once you do a sound check in an empty room and everybody sounds great, you get out there and it's totally upside down. So there's a line check. That's what I like to do, but of course I'm outnumbered. So
let me throw you a friendly curve. How do you unwind or relax when you're not performing?
Well, let's see. I'm really into flying RC planes, and let's see, that's about one hobby. And I dabble in ham radio and just
Wow,
build stuff. I like
you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's I decided to put out this T-shirt quite a while ago. I haven't made them in a long time, but they featured in Airbrush Action magazine. That it's basically I'll show you. I don't think I have a copy of it. I have it on my computer, but it's a bass clef carbon stone, and it says "solid as a rock," and that went over pretty good. But it was kind of labor intensive because I did each one by hand.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Would you like to give a shout out to your family and friends?
Sure, shout out. No. I live in Northern California, nice wine country, I guess you want to call it. And with my girlfriend, who most resembles a white person, Karen. And there was one thing I was going to tell you about. I'll send you a copy of this. It was a charity record that I put out about, 2003.
Okay.
And it was for a guy that I played with when I was on the road. I'd come back off the road and not want to play any blues, when I on the road with them. So I'd go and I'd go to these jams, open mic kind of things. One night I went into it, and this guy who was running it, and he was kind of real sort of grumpy. And I waited and waited and waited, and finally at the end of the night he goes, "Oh man, stick around. Do you really play with Elton Bishop?" I said, "Yeah." And so I got up there, and then we wound up playing. It was one of those chemistry things where he and I sort of took off. And for the next couple of years, we had a little trio. There was nothing serious, but he and I had a drummer, and he developed brain cancer and passed away in 2002, and left behind a 13-year-old daughter. So we made a record to fund her college education. So I did this one tune. I did a bass and vocal version of "People Get Ready," Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't sell one cut record, so I solicited the rest of Sonoma County to put in tracks because they all knew this guy, and they did, and I put out a CD. Let's go.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'll send you a copy of it just because I still have 700 of them left. But,
And don't you have children and grandkids?
I do have children, you guys. I had 4 great grown-up children: Chris, Luke, Patrick, and Elizabeth. And Then I have, let's see, 8 grandchildren.
Oh my
Billy
God.
Ray,
Holy cow.
Lady Grace, Peyton. We have Eli and Quincy and Jack and Cora. Cora's the youngest
Wow.
one.
Have you
Really?
encouraged or have any of them become musicians?
No, I don't think so. Probably not. They saw how hard I had my older kids. They saw how hard it was for me, and probably, said, "Yeah, I don't want to deal with that," because I always had to work. I had to work the day job, and if you choose to live in the Bay Area, I started to work in LA when I was single in the early '70s. After I left Shadowfax, I started to work all right down in LA, but I couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand LA, the music scene, pretty much, and I wasn't going to raise my kids down there.
Nice.
So where does my oldest son go?
Oh,
He lives-
LA?
Yeah, he's been in Venice for years now. He has 2 successful restaurants.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
Huh?
Very cool.
Yeah, no, he's done. They're doing great. It's, the second oldest lives in Bend, Oregon. He's a house appraiser, and my son is working for a couple of different things. I'm not sure, he's a code enforcer and building inspector kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
And then my daughter works for a company called Dharma Trading Company, which is run by a deadhead guy, or owned by this deadhead. I forget his name, but it's a textile and arts and crafts kind of warehouse thing. She's been doing that. She's been the buyer for them for years. So they're all doing fine, doing better than I did at that age.
Yeah, Mark, I wanted to get a question in since Evan mentioned deadheads and the dead. I've asked something that fascinates me, and I've asked a few of our guests about how the proliferation of cover bands and what they now call tribute bands.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we would not have gone to see a Frank Sinatra tribute band or something. But now, Joel Sullivan told me that on any given night in America, there are 3,000 Grateful Dead tribute bands playing. So,
No
tribute
comment.
all of this? And I mean, do you think it squeezes out original new music and musicians, or is it a good or a bad thing?
I don't know. The jury's out on that one. I mean, most musicians want to work,
Yeah.
and if there's money in it, I guess that I got no problem with it. It's not my cup of tea. I'm really like original stuff, and this second band I had, Soul Fuse, is pretty much, that's why we got together, is because this one writer writes a whole bunch of great tunes, and we said, okay, he and I write together, and it's nothing serious, I mean, we play it, of course it's serious when we're playing, we just play locally, and we got a couple of really good guys, and you got Al Garth. I don't know if you know who Al Garth is, but he's originally with Loggins and Messina, and then he toured with the Eagles for years.
Oh,
A horn player, and so he's with us, and then we have a really good drummer who's been with everybody on the face of the planet, and we have fun.
no, let's hear it for original music and not cover bands.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fine, and everybody's got to do their thing, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my thing.
Would you like to promote any shows coming up?
Let's see. We got Yoshi's coming up. I don't have the thing in front of me, or I'll tell you what date it is. If you look on the website, you can find it.
Okay. And when we put this podcast on our website, we're going to include some videos from Shadowfax, the videos you send me for Lydia Pence and anything else. And so for people watching, there'll be a lot of material about Evan and his career on the Olden in the Way podcast.com.
Well, you can put the Soul Fuse site up there too if you want. I don't know if you checked out.
Yeah. No, you feed me some stuff and we'll turn it a page into a website of sorts.
I think I did.
Telling your story.
Cool. I think I gave you the link to both of those, but I can send it to you again and pictures. Yeah, the cut I gave you, or that I sent the link to for Shadowfax, is about the best one on that without any kind of weirdness, distortion and all that. Came out pretty good. That second time was really good. The first time was kind of shaky, but as far as the video goes.
We're going to wrap up, but I wanted to know as we conclude this interview, and thank you so much for doing this. Any words of wisdom for our audience out there?
Yeah, just, if you do it, if you do it, do it. If you have a passion for it, do it. If you don't have a passion for it, find something else. That
Yeah.
was a big,
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Evan, thank you so much. It's really nice to reconnect with you. I will continue to stay connected, and I think this recording is over the top.
It's off the hook.
I actually hit the record button this time.
yay! Thank you.
Anything is possible.
All right, folks.
Evan, thank you, and I'll be in touch with you shortly.
Yeah, do that. All right, Bob.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Take care.